Hello everyone and welcome back to No Days But Today, the show where we look back at the 2005 adaptation of the 1996 Tony Award winning musical Rent. I'm Blake, and if you weren't sad enough in our last episode, we're going to get even sadder as we started a funeral. But we have a special guest on the line, Robert Black. Black, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Well, that's
I'm ready to be sad.
Yeah. I had Liz from Mean Girls Minute in the last
Nice.
2 episodes. And we went from being all cheerful to being depressed. And now we're even more sad as we're getting into Angel's funeral. Well, before we get into this, I will ask you, you jumped right on this when I asked people, what's your history with Mia Rent?
Well, I actually know the specific first thing that got my attention was, I think it's 97. I think it was the Benny tour. Neil Patrick Harris performed on Later on NBC. And he performed What You Own. And immediately I'm like, I have to see that when it's in LA. And then I almost missed it. The closing Sunday, I happened to see in the newspaper that morning that Rent was in town.
Wow.
I made it barely in time to the theater to get into the orchestra pit lottery, but I'm like, I don't want to risk it, so I just bought a ticket. I sat in the very center of the last row in a packed house.
Wow.
And loved it. I didn't even have binoculars or anything to look up close. I was just riveted anyway. And so then I saw it a few years later with my wife and saw the movie when it came out. We'll get to this later, but I didn't like the movie as much.
Oh, wow.
But then I saw a live production 3 times when they did it at Cal State LA, where I was a grad student.
Nice.
And then my daughter went with me to that, so I bought her I think it was for Christmas that year, the Live on Broadway disc. Mm-hmm. And so she got obsessed with it. And so then together she and I saw it at the Saban in, I think it's Beverly Hills, and then at the Pantages last year. And then it's coming back to the Pantages next, late spring, early summer, and we're going to go again.
I will say right now, you are the first person to actually see this show on stage more than me on the show.
Well, the 3 college productions helped. Those were $10 tickets. So
well, I saw her 4 times on Broadway. So.
Oh, nice.
With different cast every time.
That's good.
So, and one's with my wife in the second row orchestra.
Oh.
So
nice.
That was an experience. So here we are. As we last left you, Angel had died, and in the Broadway production, left on spectacular fashion.
Oh yeah.
I love his exit in the Broadway show. I'm not gonna lie, especially on the Live for Broadway DVD, when you see the zoom-ins on him leaving the stage in the next song. I love that.
Oh yeah, when Mark's talking and they do the close-up as he looks over.
Yeah.
Got some nice shots in there.
Yeah, those are details you don't see when you're in the theater, especially in this moment, because most people are crying. So.
Oh, right. Yeah, we're not paying attention to him in the background because
No.
we can't see.
Yeah, I never noticed it till the DVD came out, so very good detail, whoever edited that. So, we're at the funeral. I'm not going to read everything here because there's a lot to this, but in the Broadway show, we never really got the relationship between Mimi and Angel like we did in the movie. So,
no.
I like the fact that they gave us that in the movie. I've been saying that this whole time. What do you think?
Well, yeah, it makes it more, because even on stage, Mimi tells the story about, horror Halloween being
Angel was one of my closest friends. It's right that it's Halloween because it was her favorite holiday. I knew we'd hit it off the moment we met. That skinhead was bothering her, and she said she was more of a man than he'd ever be and more of a woman than he'd ever get.
Angel's favorite holiday, and it's we haven't seen them get to know each other. But it's okay. In the movie, yeah, it works a little better because we see a couple visual points where they're together. That's one of those things where on stage even, I find it odd that Maureen knows Angel.
Uh-huh.
Because Maureen used to live with Mark, Roger, Collins, and Benny. And I'm like, how did she know Angel really well, but Angel never met any of them?
Yeah, true. Well, Mark, obviously, he has his story, which I love Mark's story of the tourists. And
then there was a time he walked up to this group of tourists, and they were petrified because A, they were obviously lost, and B, had probably never spoken to a drag queen before in their lives. And she just offered to escort them out of Alphabet City, and then she let them take a picture with her, and then she said she'd help them find the circle line.
That's something I can see actually happening in New York at this time. So.
Oh yeah.
Because I always say, this show is based in New York pre-Giuliani.
Yeah.
So that's I can see something like that happening then now. Maureen talking about how everything she wears ends up being in the Gap after she wears it, which is funny to me.
So much more original than any of us. You'd find an old tablecloth on the street and make a dress. And next year, sure enough, they'd be mass producing them at the Gap. You always said how lucky you were that we were all friends. But it was us, baby, who were the lucky ones.
And
yeah.
What's funny to me is that all the clothes from Rent ended up being actual, like, clothes sold in New York for real in the 90s.
Well, yeah, that was one of those things that always surprised me with Rent is when it first produced, it was a big deal that they, like, picked their costumes out in, like, thrift stores.
Right.
And then every future production was, no, we have to copy those exact costumes rather than, like, get new stuff from thrift stores. I'm like, no, just get new stuff.
It's true.
You know, approximate it, get close.
Mm-hmm. So, then we get Collins. And no offense to the guy in the Broadway production on the DVD, Jesse L. Martin kills this song.
Oh, yeah.
Live in my house. I'll be your shelter. Just pay me back with 1,000 kisses. Be my lover. And I'll cover you, yeah.
Oh my God. It blows me away and gives me chills every single time when he covers I'll Cover You Reprise. He does this version.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I had some basic notes just for the whole movie version, and it's like a lot of it could be a lot better, but like Jesse L. Martin and Taye Diggs are amazing in like everything they do in this movie. Like they are living it up and having a good time being back with Rent. Yeah. And in this song, Martin is great.
Yeah, I agree. Well, Jesse L. Martin, I was joking. Have you ever seen the NBC production of A Christmas Carol, the musical, that came out right before this with Kelsey Grammer?
No.
Okay. Jesse L. Martin
I know it exists. I've never seen it.
Yeah, he plays one of the ghosts in there. And
okay.
I'm convinced he did that as a primer and a practice for coming back on Rent.
Huh.
Because it's amazing. He's absolutely incredible. And he took like one of my favorite songs in that musical. It's called A Christmas Together. And made it better. And I didn't think that was possible.
Huh.
Until he did.
Nice.
So, applause to him. Big time.
Yeah, no. he drags the opening of the song a little slow, I think, but he redeems it and he earns it because he puts out that emotion the entire thing in this scene.
It gives you chills.
And he's good.
It gives you chills.
Yeah.
So there's not a whole lot you can really say about it because it's that good.
Well, I even think the guy in the live on Broadway version, which is named Michael McElroy, he's a good singer, but like his voice is too. I put in my notes. His voice is too clean.
Mm-hmm.
Like it should be more raw because he's feeling it, and he feels like he's singing the song well, but he's not feeling it.
The emotion's not there.
Martin feels like he seems like he's feeling it.
I agree, 100%. And what do you think the difference between the Broadway and movie here? Because we're in an actual like church funeral home here, as opposed to obviously everything being in one spot. Really,
yeah.
The staging.
Some of the scenes I like that they put it outside and like they let it breathe. This one, I think the church might be a little too big and bright, but I like that they're in a church. And it gets some great close-up shots of the people in the audience when they all join in singing and they're crying, and like Roger's crying before anyone else is. And it gets for some nice close-ups that you don't get on stage.
That's true. And for Roger, as a character, do you think he's kind of like looking at his future right here?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why this is the day that he announces, yeah, he's leaving town finally. Because he knows he doesn't have much time left. He has to do something with it.
And we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Now, in the movie, we jump right to Goodbye Love. And as a big-time Broadway guy, it still makes me pissed off that they cut one of my favorite Mark moments in Halloween.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I love this song. I always have. And it's on the soundtrack. It's a cutscene on the DVD, so they filmed it. And then they
filmed it. I was just saying that I think the scene here with him singing it is also good in the movie version. It's just him walking alone in the cemetery, and it's like the stage version, but with a bigger stage.
Yeah.
They're not trying anything special. It's just letting the regular version breathe, and he does a great performance of it.
Yeah, I agree. And
how did we get here? How the hell pan left? Close on the steeple of the church. How did I get here? How the hell? Christmas Eve last year. How could a night so frozen be so scalding hot? How can a morning this mild be so raw? Why are entire years strewn on the cutting room floor of memory, when single frames from one magic night forever flicker in close-up on the 3D IMAX of my mind? That's poetic. That's pathetic. Why did Mimi knock on Roger's door and Collins choose that phone booth back where Angel set up his drums? Why did Maureen's equipment break down? Why am I the witness? And when I capture it on film, will it mean that it's the end and I'm alone?
For me, I like the fact that they gave us a minute almost like the narrator of the show. Like, Mark is always our narrator. Especially
there's less of that in the movie, but I like that this brings it back.
Yeah, and I think that might be one of the reasons they cut it, because Mark's not really the narrator in the movie because he's in the Broadway show.
Yeah, they cut a lot of...
Yeah. But straight up, I love it. I have no complaints. I love this song, but I also like the fact that he's almost questioning how he got here. Like, why am I at this funeral for someone I didn't even know a year ago?
Yeah, it's Halloween, so not even a year. It's like 10 months. So yeah, it's this funeral he's going to, and this is Mark's life, which we don't get that line coming up because it's in the extended version. Yeah. About how he's the one that's going to survive.
It's true. All right.